running a business is a tough and lonely journey. Welcome to the Executives on the Front Lines podcast, where business owners and C-suite executives like you will get real answers to your everyday business problems. I'm your host, Jeff Palacio, and together we will learn from senior leaders who have occupied every top box of a company's org chart for every size organization and who like to roll up their sleeves while checking their egos at the door. Welcome to the Executives on the Front Lines podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Palacio, and I'm very excited about today's topic. It is build and protect your company's most precious asset. My guest today is an expert in this, Kathy Leech. Kathy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me in.
Yeah. So, Kathy, what is a company's most precious asset?
Jeff, it's reputation. And that is something that companies, brands, and people actually have. And there's always a bit of confusion about the difference between what a brand is and what a reputation is. And I would say if you think about a tree, the tree is the brand and the shadow is the reputation. So it's about, the brand is about everything the company or the person or the does to really influence how the brand is perceived. So that would be brand positioning, brand look and feel, communications, internal or external, the physical aspects of the brand, the emotional aspects of the brand. So everything that the company puts out into the world to have a unique, competitively defined product. The reputation is how people perceive that. And so on a good day, brand and reputation are very, very aligned. But when there are disconnects between the brand, that's when you have reputational issues. Think about Domino's a few years ago having a viral moment where one of its employees was inappropriate in the making of its pizza, which then went viral and people lost trust or lost faith in the company's promise of a good pizza versus the perceived reality. And that caused a massive reset for Domino's to actually really change, first fire the guy, and then change the way that they operated. So reputational issues are often a reset moment for companies.
Yeah, I mean, so kind of explain how you've navigated into that space. Like, what were some of your early influences, and how did you build your own reputation as a brand slash reputation expert?
I was lucky enough to work for BP when they were beginning to rebrand from the combination of BP and Amoco back in 2000. And there was a very intentional creation of a brand and a reputation. And the whole focus of the brand was to go beyond the category of oil and gas and into energy. And there was a huge investment in solar and wind and hydrogen, which people found surprising. And part of my job was to communicate this to people, to sort of say, don't look at BP as a regular oil and gas company. Think of it as an energy company. And then unfortunately, in 2010, there was the Gulf oil spill, which still is one of the biggest PR disasters for a brand or a company in American history. And obviously the dissonance between the oil spill and BP's promise of cleaner, greener energy was, I mean, you can't get more dissonant than that.
Right.
And so then my job became to try and redeem BP's reputation. But you can't fix a company's reputation with communications, that with a relationship. If somebody says something and promises something and then acts against it, there is a lack of trust created when actions and words don't actually are not actually consistent. And so BP had to really work to clean up the spill, make sure that the economic damage was mitigated, fix the environmental damage, communicate what it was doing to really help people. And once that work was done, then we could start redeeming the reputation. And really the way we did that was to talk about A, what we'd done to fix what we had done, and B, to talk about the incredible investments we've made in safety. And so the learnings from that whole experience went into new protocols for operations in deep water drilling that we not only shared globally with our own BP subsidiaries, but shared globally with governments and our competitors, so that overall the learnings from that experience went into making the oil and gas industry itself safer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, that's a great example, and obviously well known. And it's amazing you were a big part of the solution and helping the reputation get back to where aligned more to the brand. What would be another example in your past that you helped the company with?
I worked with a big entertainment company who were very, very technologically advanced. But when we went and looked at the research and really understood what the pathway was to improved reputation, it was not through talking about the significant technological advantages. It was really about customer service. The company was focused on entertaining people and creating wonderful moments that matter, but there was real dissonance between that product and the way that customer service was happening. And so the company went through an extremely rigorous process of improving customer service. And once we did that, we were then able to talk about that and improve the reputation. So again, your words have to be consistent with your actions. And that's really, when you're fixing a reputation, you first have to fix the underlying problem before you can communicate on it.
Yeah, I mean, just based on my own experience in that customer service space, I mean, going back to the 90s, like customer service was always treated as an expense, but really it's the most, you know, powerful way to communicate with your customers. Because think about it, they talk to more customers or prospects than anybody else in the company. But yet, oh, you need to be averaging 2 minutes and 56 seconds on the phone. When Zappos was a huge example of that. I don't know if they're still like this since Amazon bought them, but they were just unbelievable in terms of, there were stories that they would talk for hours on the phone with customers, ordering flowers for a customer whose grandmother died, and they were able to return like 80 pairs of the grandmother's shoes for free, and that's customer service, and that's how you build reputation, where it
That's
aligns
right.
with your brand, right? Because you walk the talk, right?
That's right. Well, I have a recent experience. My teenage son was a victim of a fraud, and it was done through Apple gift cards. And I called Apple, and this manager spent more than an hour with us and was personally offended by the fraud and was able to get all of the money back. And, I'm a loyal Apple customer anyway, but based on that experience, my feelings for the company are even stronger. They really walk the talk there.
Sure, and the research says a company or person at that company fixes your problem, you're more loyal, and you're
That's
really,
right.
so you become an advocate, right? And that's the most powerful thing.
Exactly.
What is your superpower in terms of how you help your clients make sure their brand and their reputation align?
It's really about insights, Jeff. So it's about fully understanding across multiple metrics where a company's reputation is now, and then understanding where the company would like to go, and understanding what that path would be. And so, for instance, in the case of BP, once we had fixed the spill and it was time to start thinking about the next step, we did an enormously broad look at every metric we could: social media, tracking, employee interviews, customer interviews, just to really understand what the overall feel for the brand was. And then we looked at what could we say that would get us to an improved reputation. Um, we had lots of technical things we could talk about. We could talk about our employee base, and there were just many, many proof points. But once we went through the rigorous quantitative analysis, what we understood was, first we had to prove to the American public that we were safe. And so we talked about safety and all the real improvements. Again, this is not about communicating things you don't do. It's about doing the right things and then communicating about them. And once we talked about safety, then we took another step to say, what's next? There were some folks that wanted to talk about technology, but the US population was not ready to hear that. What they wanted to hear then was, okay, you're a safer company. Tell me what you're doing for me. Tell me what you're doing for America. And so what we started talking about was our commitment to the Gulf and our commitment to America. And that really took, between the spill and getting to that commitment to America, that was about an 8-year time frame. So once your reputation is damaged, it is not easy to fix it. And it will take time. It will take really thoughtful analysis and insight, and it will take potentially quite a large investment.
Kathy, I love that example of BP, and it just shows you that, I mean, once you lose the trust of customers, how long it takes. And obviously, it was a major global, oil spill in the Gulf, but 8 years. I mean, that just shows you the impact. So, BP is a multi-billion-dollar, Fortune, 50 company. What do you use the same type of process for your small to mid-sized customers?
No, we are fit for purpose. And so a smaller company may not have the tracking and the research and in fact, maybe not even the social media resources that BP had. But it's fascinating when you can do an hour or so interview with customers, with employees, with management, with partners, business partners, with perhaps the community in which the company is doing business. There is a wealth of information if you can really dig in and listen and just listen for those insights. And so I'll do a lot of just talking to, listening, and that can be done in a much more financially reasonable way than perhaps something that needed to be done for a PR crisis of that magnitude. And once you do that, you get a really good sense of where the company is. And when you pair that with where management and the owners would like the company to go, that sort of gives you that hole. What do we need to fill? What is an incredibly useful prism by which you can create your reputation is to have a strong purpose. And so purpose is really the intersection of what the company provides and what its target audience needs. So you think about somebody like Netflix. Their purpose is quite simple: to entertain the world. Simple, not, and you can think about that in the way that they look at what TV shows to greenlight, what movies to put on the air, what sponsorships they engage in, how they do their advertising, the people they hire. So if everything is done according to that purpose, and that purpose is the connecting point between the company's offer and what the target audience needs, then you are in a much better place to, as one of my old bosses said, repeat, repeat, repeat. The more you are consistent and on message with every one of your channels, whether it's, to your point, customer service, or it's your CEO's speech to the local board of education, as long as it's all completely consistent, that will eventually end up building a company's reputation.
It's been my experience that a lot of small to mid-sized companies and even larger ones really don't state or identify their purpose. What do you do when you encounter a client like that?
I think it's about unveiling the opportunity, right? So without a purpose, you're communicating different things. You don't have a clarity of operations. You may be introducing products that maybe aren't fit for what the audience that you're trying to reach. So a purpose is not just about reputation. A purpose is also about efficiency, and then down the road, return on investment.
Kathy, what do you think in terms of any, advice or kind of one statement or two that you want to close our great interview today?
Thanks, Jeff. I just want to go back to where we started, which is to say your reputation, whether you're a person, a brand, or a company, is really your most precious asset, and it needs to be cherished. It needs to be built. It needs to be understood. And so please don't forget, as you're thinking about um, annual plans, or as you're thinking about product strategy, don't forget that at the end of the day, everything you do and everything you say will come down and impact your reputation.
Kathy, thank you so much for being on the Executives on the Front Lines podcast today. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Executives on the Front Lines. If you are interested in learning more about today's guest, you can schedule a 15-minute call with them by scanning the QR code or using the link in the episode description. Please join me every 2 weeks to learn from another great leader sharing insight that can help you and your business.